And welcome back, Chuco fans and players and associates and supporters and everything in between. I am Coach Aaron.
Coach Alex.
Coach Bianca.
And we are Chuco FC.
Hey, she finally said it, Coach. Not compared to the first episode where she didn't say it.
It's our second time, it works. After the first time you mess up a couple times, all right, works. So, we recently went to a tournament this past weekend.
Tournament.
There you go. Here in El Paso, for those that don't know, the Alianza tournament is really one of the big tournaments here. It's where a lot of the Mexico scouts, the club teams, or some of the MLS teams, and there have been a few years where, teams from other parts of the world come and kind of scout the local talent, the El Paso talent. It is one of the most anticipated tournaments for that specific reason. We decided, we took a different approach. Usually we go see our own players and their teams and see how they play and kind of analyze them and, use what we see to improve our trainings. But this time we kind of took a different approach and we went early in the morning. We were lucky enough to have a few of our players, but one specifically, shout her out, Lina. Yes, ma'am. So, we went to go see her, but since we were there early, we also stuck around and saw a little bit of the competition, kind of how the scouting works, kind of how they do the tryouts and stuff like that. And I don't know, we were kind of blown away or kind of,
shocked.
Yes, I think that's a better way as to how the tryouts were per se. So we're going to go ahead and kind of give our little brief, right? But what we saw out there, what was different from when we were, I guess, trying out. Let's go with Coach Alex first.
All right. So one of the first things that, for sure, right, going based off the Alianza tournament, especially on the tryouts, though, tournament-wise, something completely different, which we'll eventually get to. The tryouts, though, players think they got it made. They don't speak. They didn't speak at all. So there was a big thing when I was playing that if you're not talking for the ball, you don't want to play. And I feel like out there in the tryouts, a lot of players just didn't communicate. I mean, in my opinion, right, we're in the field, you have to communicate, hey, pass the ball, hey, that player's open, and at the end of the day, I didn't see any players talking. It
was very quiet, very, only one player stood out in every game, which I don't know if, we talked about it when there was COVID year, right, when they were still playing the professionals, there was no fans there, and any times that they streamed the games, what were they doing?
Yeah, screaming for that ball.
It was screaming. It felt like there was an actual full stadium in there.
You could even hear the ball being touched.
Exactly. Even though, right, there was only, max 40 people in the stadiums, but it was loud because every single one of those players were communicating, shouting for the ball.
And that's kind of sad because when we were playing, I feel like that was a must, having to yell for the ball. It was like coaches have to hear you. If not, they'll sub you out. You're not communicating with your team. Especially that's what makes you stand out in the field. I mean, if you're the guy that mostly talks, coaches are looking for leaders, not followers. And so the fact that all these players, how many players were out there, Coach? How many players were out there?
Hundreds for sure.
Hundreds, yeah. There was tons of players. Out of every field, maybe two. Especially the goalkeepers were the first ones to talk. And fun fact, the goalkeepers were the first ones to be recruited. I remember asking other players, so who got chosen from your group? The goalkeeper. I feel like it was more goalkeepers than actual field players. And to be honest, because of the same reason, goalkeepers were communicating, they were yelling at their defense, and that's already giving them a better of a chance than a player that's just out there just shy. Moving on to Coach Bianca.
What did you think?
Well, there was one game specifically. The one I didn't really like was there was one guy, you always have that one guy in the team that just wants to be physical because that's the number one thing has to be physical. Yes, in terms to get to the ball, but even if they don't have the ball, it's like you don't have to be so physical to hurt another person or another player. Right. Or even when you did it and you don't help them, that's not being a teammate. That's not being a good player. That's what I saw in one of the games. And I didn't really like it because he did get an injury. It looked like he got either a concussion or it looked like a knee-to-knee type of injury.
It was bad.
And I'm going to call out El Paso a little bit because they had no athletic trainers there. So they had no one to take him. So they just put him in the cart.
But to be fair, that's kind of sad, right? Because we were talking to one of the parents, well, how much was the tournament itself for registration of players? And I'm sorry, Alianza, if you're hearing this, I'd rather call you out now to fix it, right? More in the sense to fix it than to complain about it.
Or any tryouts.
Or any combines or anything. It was 680 per team. Now, that's just simply the tournament, and not having even trainers out there is a little dangerous, especially the tryouts, where kids are going to sacrifice their body to get that pro scout to even look at them. So it's kind of sad to see that there wasn't any trainers out there.
Right. No, and especially because all it comes down to is the safety.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to have 22 players go against each other intensely at the high levels, it's bound to happen. It's not that anybody wants it to happen, but there's 22 people fighting for one spot. Let alone there's hundreds more, right? Because there was other games. So everyone's going to go all out. It's just bound to happen.
Speaking of, like, now that we're saying the bad things of the Alianza stuff, can we talk about that Necaxa scout?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, shout out Necaxa scout, whoever your name is. He decided to walk in the middle of the pitch, which in the middle of the game. Which again, by all means, you know what, Necaxa coach, you are obviously more experienced than us three. Your affiliation, it doesn't matter your experience or what you have. You wouldn't see Messi walking into the middle of the pitch. You wouldn't see Ronaldo. You wouldn't see any of these better players who are there, Alex Morgan, any of these women or men. You would not see them walking into a pitch because they know the respect of a tryout. They know the respect of a game. Yeah. So don't come into our city or don't come into a place just because you're bigger than us and you're better than us and expect us to just walk and make a way for you.
You know, in my personal opinion, that's how we saw it. It was very disrespectful in the sense of a scout to just walk through the pitch. And then little on that, he walked slow motion. It wasn't like a let me get there through quick just that way I can talk to the other scouts. Now, this man took his sweet time through the middle. I would have even laughed if they would have crashed into him. You know,
I mean, and don't blame the players for that.
Yeah.
No offense, but if I would have seen the crash, I would have gotten more mad at the coach or the scout, whatever he is. But it just goes back down to that. I mean, again, you're doing us El Paso a favor by coming to scout the players. Great, good job, thank you for that. But at the same time, treat it with respect. If you were in Spain, if you were scouting for Barcelona, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't do that. If you were in a different city with more fan base, more club, whatever you want to call it, you wouldn't do that. So the same thing with us. And I'm sorry, but yes, El Paso needs to be respected that way because we do know the gems that are here. Yes. There are very good players here, diamonds in the rough, the ones that are hardly ever found. And yes, we do want the opportunities. But at the same time, come on, man. Like,
you're a scout. You're a professional scout at most. I'd accept that from a Sunday league coach.
Yes, or a parent who gets mad and storms the field or whatever. Yes. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if a club who's worldly known, right, whether they were doing good or bad, but they've been established for years and years, have the respect of it.
Yeah, that was crazy. I feel that was like a little highlight moment of the tryouts. Well, not a highlight, a big highlight, but it was something that you're just like, what the heck? Like, did you really just do that?
And I guess my biggest take on the trial and the tournament was more, I felt like players were playing too scared. Yes. They didn't want to mess up, which unfortunately, that's the worst way to try out. If you play reserved, if you play with not that confidence, with not that anticipation, with that desire to win or to be better, then you're only limiting yourself. And I'm sorry, but these games were only 20-minute halves, 25-minute halves. So the games go by quick. If you're not there putting in your best effort and if you're not there putting in your best plays, the scouts are not going to look at you. Which, again, that's where it's not the scouts' fault. It's not the scouts' fault. Right. They see what they see. They don't know you.
What can you do in 20 minutes? Do you got it? Do you not got it?
And I think, again, people need to realize that. You need to impress a scout, whether it's college, pro, anything. You need to impress a scout in 40 minutes. They're not going to have time to get to know you. They're not going to have time to know all your accolades. They're not going to have time to see all your trophies.
They had a clipboard, but they had all the names of the players, and they're just clicking, right? But at the end of the day, like, it's what can you do in 20 minutes?
And I think it goes back down to one of two things. Either they're doing too many tournaments, right, over in repetitive tournaments, that now each tournament that you play has the same value, which, again, to me, it doesn't. Alianza has been known to be one of the best local tournaments compared to the other tournaments that are here in El Paso because of the scouts, because of the notice, because of the information and the attention. So for me, if I was in their position, I would have treated this tournament way more important than the other tournaments I went to. But again, because maybe they played too many tournaments, maybe to them it was just, it's whatever. It's another one. I'm going to have another one next time. I'm going to have another one in a month.
Yeah.
I'm going to have another one in 2 weeks. It doesn't really matter.
Now, to be fair, Alianza is a tournament that happens, or a showcase that happens very often throughout the year. And players do think, like, I got next time. But by the time that next time happens, they already picked 4 or 5 players way ahead of you. I feel that's what we kind of like saw in the players, because they weren't risking it in that moment. It's like, you might not have next time. What if by the time the next Alianza tournament happens, maybe they close the tournament? You know, you never know.
And I think that's right. That's where I bring up my first question. When is the appropriate time to now turn the mental gear of, okay, we are learning, we are adapting, we are shaping myself as a player, to now becoming the full 100% version of, okay, I know what to do. Now, how can I impress people? How can I change the game? How can I be that key influencer? And again, it could be in any positions. If you're a defender, how can I be that guy that's not going to let nobody score? How can I be that person, right? Because it's not just guys. How can I be that person that is going to create the field, the attack from the back? If I'm an attacker, how can I start the defensive pressure? How can I add that to the volume so we could steal the ball and I could get that quick goal? I mean,
Parents going to be define us.
Go ahead, Coach.
I'll let Bianca first.
All right, Bianca, go
Me
first.
first?
She's been a little quiet in this podcast.
Well, you guys have been rambling this whole time. But I love it. For me, it would be 12. The youngest, I would say 12. But more in the average, 13 to 14. Because you're already hitting high school. And I feel like you should already get the basics done. Because once you hit high school, like 8th grade high school, like you're going to get to a next level. It's going to be another level. You're going to meet other different players from different schools, maybe different, let's say like a different state. They're coming to El Paso. They have something new. And then the more that you get to know, like us coaches, we still need to learn new levels, right? So like with that specifically, I feel like 13, 14 would be another next level to be like, okay, let me get this more.
I'm going to throw a curveball real quick, just because I witnessed it yesterday with Sebastian's training. At 10 years old, I think there should be a specific that this is not new to you, you know? I trained Sebastian yesterday with a 13-year-old, and the fact that Sebastian was... I mean, we've had Sebastian for a amount of years, right? We've been training him for like 4 years, right? And the fact that he is younger, but because he's been on and on and on the ball. And yes, granted, the player that we got, he's freshly new to us, right? Not to soccer, but to us. It made me really see that 10 years old could be that age. At 10, it becomes that moment like, you've done this before. I think you're good enough to now do it automatically. Right, in my personal opinion, especially after seeing yesterday Sebastian's training. He was training with what is now a freshman in high school. 8th graders, I'm technically considering them high schoolers already, freshmen in high school. And the fact that Sebastian was able to keep up the pace, continue moving, it's just continuous training. It depends on how serious the player takes it.
Right.
You know, because at the end of the day, like, you could be training 2 times a week, and you're not going to be at the level of a high schooler. High schoolers are now training 4 or 5 times out of the week. When we were in high school, we were training every single day with a team, or doing weight training, speed training, something with a high school. Anything under is like once, twice a week. Middle school soccer, it's a joke. I'm sorry. You're just there for 2 months, right? 2-3 months. And especially if you're like, for example, Sebastian and other players that are in club soccer, if you do it an everyday thing by the age 10, I feel that's when it's like, oh, dang. Like, you got it down, unlocked. Right. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And you're not wrong, but you hit it right on the nail. And I think that's the problem. You can go as young as 10, but Sebastian's not an average 10-year-old. This kid lives, eats, sleeps, breathes soccer. When he goes home, he plays FIFA or he watches videos of soccer. If he's on TikTok, he's making videos of Messi and Ronaldo and whatever. If literally he's not touching a ball, he's talking about soccer. So, yes, I agree. You can't go as young as that. But at the same time, I think this is where the honest conversation comes in. Okay, does my player is he really that committed? Because I'm not going to lie, again, back to the whole effort thing. There are some players out there that, yeah, you're right. You probably have been in club soccer since you were 5. You're right. You probably have had the talent since you were that young. But at the end of the day, if you yourself, at whatever age you're in, 10, 11, 12, 9, 8, if you yourself have already said, you know what, soccer ain't for me, well then now that's when you're becoming the drift. Now it's becoming more of a job or more of a hassle than it is now more of a, I guess, enjoyment. Now I'm doing this to better myself. Sebastian, yes, he takes every loss very hard, but because, again, to him, this soccer is his life.
It's everything.
Not every 10-year-old we train is that. So, yes, I agree at the youngest, but I feel like I'm going to go in the middle. I'm going to go 11, 12. Okay. And more in the sense of because I feel like by that age, yes, middle school, you're already kind of hitting the puberty mark. You're kind of hitting that development stage of your brain. You're kind of already kind of becoming competitive. And the basic version, right? We all see ourselves some way, but we could all attest. The way I saw myself in middle school is not the way I saw myself now. But now, right, we're like envisioning ourselves on who we want to become.
Yeah.
So at that age, right, now it's more of a, okay, if I really want this to become somewhere, then yes. And again, that's why I feel like scouts do come at such a young age. There was adults that were playing in this tournament.
Oh, for real.
I guarantee
Older
you.
than us? My God, they were like, what, 30-something?
And I guarantee you, if any of them did get recruited, it was one.
Hey,
it was one.
Got recruited.
But that's why, because scouts are now looking for the young. Scouts are looking for how can I develop them into whatever system we have. How can I put them so that way when they do have the chance, they're able to succeed. So again, good thing picking young players. But that's where the character comes in. Yeah. That's where how bad do you want it? Because again, out of those hundreds of players, yeah, you could be selected, but once you play in the actual game, once it comes down to it, once the paper's right in front of you, are you going to be like, yeah, you know what? Nah, I like my El Paso life. I like just being at home. I like just being in the tournaments. I like in my comfort zone. Or are you really going to sign that paper and start traveling? Are you really going to go travel to Necaxa, Guadalajara, Torreón, Coahuila? Are you really going to go to Barcelona, España, to Italy, all these big places to make your dreams come true? Or is the immense pressure now going to be, you know what?
I'd rather stay here in El Paso.
I want to call out a pro player. Well, okay, should I say the name? Because she's very known. Like, very known.
Go for it. Maybe she'll see this one day.
Oh. And I'm gonna get yelled at. Okay. So, well, the past, World Cup, right? With the women's? So, when they recruited Alyssa Thompson.
Ooh, she's going on the Heat.
Yes, she was, how old? 18?
She was 16.
Or 16. Yeah, 16 years old. Because Mallory Swanson, she got injured from a knee injury, and they had to find a replacement quick. Like someone that they just need someone young. They just thought someone young and is ready, right? So that's why they picked Alyssa Thompson, because they're like, oh, she's the star of like social media, right. Yes. So they recruited her to replace Mallory Swanson's, position. Yeah, had a brain fart there. Sorry. So when she was playing, that's where I got thrown off, because the way that she was playing scared, obviously, because she didn't seem she was ready, because it was just like out of the blue, like, boom, you're in the USA women's team, like, you're going to have to come, you're going to have to come travel with us all the way over here. And she's like, oh, okay, like, she thought this would be a cool journey, but then I feel like when she stepped on that field meeting other different women, like, older, they're like 20s, like 30s already, she was already like, am I ready? Am I not ready? Like, that's why professionals also get the struggle, Or even like recruiting youngs, not yet to the, the upper level. Right. Not just yet. Just have them more experience. Yeah. Winning the World Cup.
I mean, you're not wrong. The younger they are, it's also about maturing, right? You're maturing in the sport. You're maturing as a human being. You're not an adult yet. You still have to depend on your parents or other coaches, especially for a player that, for example, huge shout out to Mason, right? He's out there in South Korea. He still has to depend on his parents. His decisions aren't alone. And imagine if he would have been on his own that whole time. Yeah. Players break, I give huge shout out to Mason's parents that are always supporting on him, always like being there for him, pushing him. Like, it's very rare to find parents that are like that. I know we might get bashed for this I'd rather be honest, and that way they know our opinion. But it's really hard to find parents that understand a player's mental breakdowns. And so, I mean, yes, there's really good parents out there. I'm not saying for the grassroots level, amazing parents. But when it comes to competitive soccer, that's why you see a lot of players fail or break down mid-game or mid-season, right? Like, not gonna lie, Pedri and Gavi in FC Barcelona, they were too young. I feel, in my opinion, they were too young when they started. Yes, they were the heroes in the moment, but look at Gavi. Straight out, broke, right? Mid-season, not strengthening. They don't allow their bodies to develop. And that's where I agree with Bianca, like, about being too young, both mentally and physically. You're fighting against 30-year-olds,
Right.
grown men or grown women that already have muscular density way stronger than theirs. And so, yeah, that's a rough one.
But again, going back to why are these players successful when they're young?
They want it.
Not that, and not only, but like, okay, so is it now because they played for so long and they had this playing time and they had all these games and all these tournaments? Or is it simply because, for example, you just said it, the Barcelona players, is it because they had the experience of going through La Masia, which that's the name of the Academy of Barcelona, but is it that? Is that what made them successful to be on the first team? So the question again, is it...
Those answers will come back after this one short message of our new sponsor in this our sponsor of today's video, Chase. Yeah, Chase. Say, thank you, International Soccer Store.
Perfect.
Today's sponsor is International Soccer Store.
A soccer store for all your soccer needs. Go ahead, get the official jerseys. You could get some official balls that she has around there. They have a vast variety of cleats, indoor and outdoor. So go ahead, check out International Soccer Store on North Saragossa Road.
And then lastly, guys, if you want to support local, go ahead, check out International Soccer Store on Instagram or on the internet. They have an Amazon store in case you don't want to go to the store. Check them out. Would you rather be in a competitive team, really fight for your spot, maybe sit on the bench, win titles, or would you rather be in a team that you have full playing time, you might not win all the titles? Okay.
But you're more involved.
You're more involved.
Yes.
Okay, I'll let you start with this one.
All right. So this one to me is a little bit of a tougher one, more because I went through both. So in high school, JV, whether it was JV or varsity, I ended up getting a lot of playing time. And so for me, starting late at 13 years old, I feel like that was probably where I developed the most. Now, that was when I was doing school training, and that's when I was going to rush for the club training. So it was double training on some days, and I did feel like that helped me a lot with the speeding of the process. But when I was in college, again, we were a pretty good team. We always made playoffs all 5 years that we were there. We were only made 1 year where we made it as far as the quarterfinals, semifinals, so I wouldn't say it was as successful, but I felt like that exposure made me realize the intensity or how serious it is to always be on your game, always be 100. But I go back to where did I develop the best, where did I develop the most, was my playing time. So for me, even though at the time, Mawood JV wasn't great. At the time, Mawood Varsity wasn't great. It wasn't until my last year that we actually won the district champs. So, okay, one trophy. But during that time process, that's when I learned probably the most about myself. What am I as a player? Am I more intense or am I more laid back? Am I more of a defensive player or am I more of an attacking player? What am I good at? I'm good at tackling, but I'm not good at dribbling. So that's when I started unraveling myself as a player and kind of seeing, what do I need to work on? And then what ended up helping and making me better was taking those risks. And I think that's where I learned more in the club game. In the high school, it was kind of, we were very kind of preserved, very defensive, very non-risky. But in the but in the club team, that's where, again, learning how to take the risk and that seriousness of what each tournament was. But going back to the playing time. If I never had the playing time, which at USW, yes, I didn't get a lot of minutes, I didn't get a lot of playing time, but that's where I felt like I didn't grow in college. A lot of it was just me, myself now, in the background, whether it was training with my roommates, training with a couple of my teammates, but outside of the USW. I felt like when it was during season or during the practices, by then it was either too late for me to learn or it was too intense that now it's, okay, well, we got to win, buddy. It's my job or your job. So I'm going to do what I want, because I need to win, because I need to get a job, compared to you where you're just on scholarship and you know what, you'll be here next year. So to me, I think it's better to get that exposure, to go through that exposure of, you know what, you're not the best player yet. What do you yourself need specifically? And I would rather be in a team where they're going to get exposed. You know, maybe I don't have a good defense on this new team that I'm in. So, okay, now I need to learn how to be a better defender. Maybe we don't shoot a lot. Okay, so me in my position that's playing a lot, maybe I do need to take a couple more risks and shoot more. Am I going to win a lot of trophies? Probably not. But not one team in this world has started perfect. Not Manchester City, because long ago no one even cared about Manchester City, and Manchester was red for years and decades. But now that Pep Guardiola stepped in, and now that he had all these billions of dollars, now all of a sudden there's more Manchester City fans than Man U. So again, back to that point, every team has started. Even Barcelona, you can go as back. I mean, way back before even our grandparents. Yeah, before our grandparents, or maybe in our grandparents. So it takes a while for you to become a giant. But if you've never had that playing time, then you're never going to get the experience. And if you don't have that experience, then how can you change the game, or how can you do more if you don't know how to do it? You get what I'm saying?
I'll answer the question as well. Has to do a lot with playing time, because I feel even myself as a player was how I developed. Yes, I had the opportunity to be with star player team, but I feel being in the field is more important. I always get asked if I could be with an elite team, being in the bench, or being with, for example, let's say a second division team, be a starter. Personally, I would rather play a bit more. The moment you know yourself, okay, I am capable of fighting for my spot, then yes, definitely push yourself for that elite team, knowing that you're going to fight for the spot to be playing. I feel that's where a lot of players tend to shy away. I am good enough, but coach, now favoritism is a thing, I'm not going to lie, especially when it comes to recruitments and everything, and contracts and all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, if you know you're good enough to fight for a playing time, then go all in for the playing time. One big mistake that I did as a player was shy away of who I was at one point, because there was this time frame in my playing time career that I didn't want to, I just didn't want to take that leadership role. I didn't want to push myself. It was during high school, because I think I did it, overwhelmed myself with not wanting to push it, that I feel that's where I kind of backed away and say, nah. Right. More in the sense, because how Coach Aaron mentioned that in high school, would you consider there was a system in high school soccer? No, Bianca, I don't think there was a specific system. And these coaches have these jobs for more than 5 years. There should be a type of system that, hey, this coach plays this way. That's where I'll give, granted, Bel Air, Del Valle coaches, they have a certain system. East Lake, which is one of the top high schools, they have a system of how they play their players, and they try to distribute that system with the middle schools, now transfer up to the high school. Because I was taught very in a possession type of way when it was barely coming out, I feel in our high school time, there was none of that. It was just kick it as far as you can. So it made me kind of discouraged, my ability wasn't good for this team. And that was wrong, because that's what cut my playing time off. If instead of just taking that role and saying, you know what, I play this way, let me make it the best that I can to push myself, I would have rather have put that input to, hey, I could be that playing player that plays all 90 minutes of the game. But that's where it becomes in the difference, competitive and non-competitive. That's where club coaches try to emphasize more, and I hope they emphasize more, that playing time is more important than winning, because that's what club soccer's for you to go out there and play. That's where I struggle a lot with, especially with parents that, oh, my team's competitive. Okay, but is your player playing? That's the real question. Club soccer was built to have players play. If you want to go sit on the bench, go be part of a high school team. Go be part of a middle school team. Because coaches have and are allowed to sit you in the bench if they want to. At least club soccer, you have the opportunity to tell the coach, hey, can he play more? Is he really going to play? No, he's not? Okay, then I'll move him to a different team to play. And that gives you confidence to do it in games more often. So yeah, for me, it's playing time more importantly than being in a competitive team, because you build the team eventually. Right.
For me, it's more also playing time. From high school to semi-pro, that was a big jump for me, because I skipped full college. And, in semi-pro, the first year, I didn't get that much playing time. Like, yes, I was trying to, train. I was training with this guy, literally. I was trying to,
5 days a week.
yeah, I was doing literally 5 days a week. And I was trying to, get back on track, trying to get everything together, be like, okay, I want to make more playing time. Like, I don't care if we win any games at that point. I was like, I want more playing time to help better my team. So that first year didn't go so great. And then that's when I realized, like, I need to push harder. I realized that I still didn't unlock that potential to be like, you know what, I need to continue playing. I need to keep training. I need to keep pushing it, like, no matter what. So that's when the second year I got better and I started getting more playing time. And yes, the thing is that I didn't get any trophies. I didn't, get to quarterfinals, finals, semifinals. But I got so much playing time. I went from 10 minutes, like, on the 90 minutes, and then I went from 45 minutes every half. So literally totally in 90 minutes.
Semi-pro. At the end of the day, it's a professional league. It's hard to get through, so she was in the competitive team. She did what the player is supposed to do, work hard as much as you can to get a starting position. And which is, you did what it's super rare for a player to do. Like, if the player's in the bench, they're 70% of the time. 70% of the time, you see players just quitting.
Right.
Like, they won't do what you do. Like, get that grind, continue suffering to have that playing time.
And it was like that. Even, this past year in the summer, a lot of girls, like, they came 2 days of training, and then one game we played, we lost, obviously, and some of them didn't play, never came back.
Yeah.
Because they were like, nah, like, it's not worth it.
Right. And so, to be fair, that I feel like in that moment that you were in your career, you chose the competitive team, but now I want to be a starter. I want to be that starter.
Yes.
And so, I mean, we have a little bit of all three. Coach Aaron did most of the training, chose the playing time, backed away from the trophies, but he built his team, right? You built your team to have those trophies. I mean, with that club team, you guys even went to a big international tournament that you guys came out champions. I decided, in me, it was more like I'd rather have the playing time rather than being in this superstar team. And it's like, well, I know for a fact I'd rather just be touching the ball. And then Bianca did as well, being a competitive team, being in that superstar team and fighting for minutes. So at the end of the day, it's like 3 versions, right?
Right.
And so I feel like at the end of the day, if you're a player especially struggling in that, balance your way out. If you know you can fight through it and get a starting spot, or would you rather go build a team and be that winning team at the end of the day? Anything you want to add, Coach?
I guess final thoughts on the tournament. What would be one thing you would tell yourself? What would be one thing you would tell yourself back if you were in your playing time, tournament time, right? You could think between 10, let's say 10 to 15. You're in that age. You're back in tournament time, right? We were leaving it back. Let's travel back in time. What would be one thing you would tell yourself? Just you. So keep it specific to you, not to like all the kids. Just what would you tell yourself? So for me, sorry, well, I already have
Okay,
it.
no, go for it.
Sorry, I already have it.
I thought you were going to do it.
Yes.
But for me, it would be don't hold back, like at all, like just in general. Whether it's because you're afraid to make mistakes, whether it's because you're not the best player, and that was a lot of my mental battles. My mental battles were, okay, I'm on the field, I can't mess up. My mental battle is,
Dang.
Sorry.
it's okay. My mental battle was more, I'm gonna mess up or I'm not good enough. So those two constantly being battles of me allowed me to be more restrictive. Where in right, I saw a lot of my other teammates who were just kind of like, I don't want to say they weren't thinking about it. They knew the situation, but they weren't as pressured. They were really playing flowingly, freely. They were kind of just more in the moment, which I feel like that's what I wish I was in. Instead of thinking a lot about, okay, how important this tournament is and, oh, if I don't play good, I'm not going to get scouted or yada, yada, yada. It was more like, you know what, just be in the moment. Just play that game. Don't worry about the rest. Just play that game.
For me, I've been saying it to myself now. Well, since I played. I would tell myself then, failure is not fatal. I love saying it. He hears me say it all the time. I love saying it because failure's not fatal. Like, failure's not going to define you. Like, you just learn from it and you're like, okay, let me fix this real quick. So for me, I would keep myself, okay, failure's not fatal. And I'll fix it. I'll fix it in the game. Or even when I'm playing, I usually will think like, oh, I messed up this pass. Or I messed up this. Oh, I messed up that. I missed the goal literally by 5 miles away. And that's happened before.
Yeah.
But for me, it would be failure's not fatal.
For me, it's be that guy. I'm not gonna lie. For me, it's like, if you're going to be playing number 10 position, all right, showcase your skill in that tournament that you are that number 10. Showcase that you are that number 9. Have confidence in yourself that you have the ability to dribble out defenders, passing and moving, finishing the goal, shooting from 28 yards out, 30 yards out, and scoring a goal. I feel that would be more what I would tell myself if I was still playing. Is like, sometimes players want to shy away from becoming that player, because we do see it, right? But sometimes you have to. I didn't understand that until I played at the professional level. Be that guy. You really want to have that position, be the guy to score the goal. Shoot from a distance. Give that through ball. And again, if you fail, it's not fatal. And again, play in the moment. I feel that's where even coaching contemplates it. You're coaching that player right now, right? Focus on that player. Don't focus on anybody else. Even when it comes to just passing the ball to the kid. Whatever that kid needs, that's what he needs. So if I go back in time as a player, it's have that confidence just to be that guy. Cool. Hey, that's not a bad podcast. Not bad at all. Yeah. We're going to finish off this podcast with one last question. This or that. We have a little segment called This or That. And did you have one by chance? Oh, Coach Aaron got it.
This has nothing to do with soccer.
Completely off topic.
So, would you rather live in a world with no music or in a world with no transportation? So you're only walking, running. I mean, if you can run for days, go ahead. But
I have to have my music.
No one can hear you because it's far away.
Transportation.
Oh,
I need
no,
my
you
music.
can't.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I can't live in a world with silence.
I don't know. Sometimes having silence is kind of cool. No, I'm joking. No, I'd rather have music for sure. I could walk for hours if you put me music or a podcast or something. Like, I could walk. Biking. I love biking for hours.
Nah, that's transportation.
Really? Even biking?
Biking?
Dang. So literally just walking and running?
Walking or whatever you have on your 2 feet. If you want to crawl, by all means, bro, you can crawl if that's faster. By all means.
Okay, I'd rather have music. Yeah, I could walk all day hearing music. I know what yours answer is.
I'm too easy. I love music, so.
He's our DJ in trainings, in camps, everywhere. He's our DJ. So if you need a DJ for your party, hook him up.
Yes, sir.
Link is down below for his Instagram. All right, guys.
But-
go ahead. Sorry.
But yes, music, because a world without music is a world not beautiful.
That is true. Oh, clip that. I'm gonna clip that one. All right. So, great first podcast, guys. If you guys want to follow us on Instagram, go ahead and check us out, Chuco FC. And if you also want to follow us on YouTube, subscribe on the Chuco FC Soccer Academy YouTube channel, which you're watching this on. We will not be planning to put this on Spotify if you're interested, if you're listening to this. We have 54 views on the last podcast. Not bad. Not bad. So people are interested in what we're saying. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next podcast.